Today I'm going to be going over another stock that's part of the S&P. What I like doing is I like going into these stocks that are part of the S&P. Kind of look at the charts a bit and seeing if you can create a decent passive income by just focusing on that company. Now, I've done Walmart, I've done Waste Management, and I'll be looking at a couple ones today. We'll be looking at SBUX, and generally, we're going to look at, how much the contracts cost, whether the contracts, you can buy it on a day or weekly. And what I look for really is weekly, so that, I could set up a contract and write it out for a week and just try to find at least $1 difference with the asset. So within a week, try to find $1 movement. Because if you find $1 movement, you can easily scale that up. At first with one contract, it should give around $50 to $100, but you could scale that up over time. So what I want to do is I want to look at the numbers. I want to look at what the contracts cost, how long you have to have them. Now, for things like where you have to buy a week contract, you don't necessarily have to wait the entire week. You can sell when you're in profit, but for the most part, if a lot of the contracts are bi-weekly. But we'll check that out. We'll check how much the contracts generally cost. We'll look at the patterns a little bit and see if just trading SBUX can lead into some passive income. All right, so SBUX is sitting around $83.90 the time of making this video. We can see that it has moved about 16, well, its market's not open, but let's just see real quickly how much it will move. One thing I like to check first is how much it moves in a week, basically, because generally, when you know how much it moves in a week, you can you could figure out if it's worthy of holding the contract out for a week. So if we measure the last week, which was this one here to down here, basically, it moved by $4.38. And then the previous week, it moved $3. And then the previous week, it moved a little bit more, it looks like. Moved all the way here. So it moves anywhere from $3 to $5 a week. So what you have to figure out, and what we have to check here, is we have to check to see if the contracts are a week out, and you basically have to do your trades by a week and you have to get within that range of that week, basically, to make profit. Because what I've found is doing this on the first day, it's not really going to lead into some pretty big gains. But if you hold it for longer, 2 or 3 days, it should lead into some. You could probably catch something within the range of the movement, but that's looking at it on the weekly. Let's real quickly look at the contracts. So yeah, it looks like the contracts are a week out, so you would have to buy them. So basically, puts right now are around, at least what I would recommend is getting as close to the dot as possible. What I would do is get close to the dot when looking for my position. So I would get as close to this dot as possible. So that's about $800, $900 right now, but that's for puts. Let's look for calls and see what it is, because let's see how much it would be. We want to get as close. This one's good. So if the stock goes up in the next week, you'll be in profit. So all you really have to do is catch that $1 difference. if you see my last video, that's what the goal is for these other stocks that aren't the S&P, is to buy a week contract and focus on getting $1 a week difference. So anyway, you have to buy them a week out, but you don't have to hold for a week. You just have to buy the contracts out for a week. So when you buy these contracts, just keep in mind the best thing to do is probably try to hold it out for a week. But if you're in profit, you're in profit. You can take profit. But let's quickly look at the charts. We know that they range from about $3 to $5 a week. So let's get in closer and see if we can find what we really want to look for is good moments of getting to that dollar, basically. So what we can see right now, currently the direction is down, and it's got all this room right here before it can turn bullish. So right now the pattern really for StarBucks is puts, basically. So my recommendation is to do puts right now. If we look at this on the day, we're in a it's bearish on the day chart. So we zoom in on the hour. We definitely want to be looking for all the moments where it's coming down. So you could look, I'm not going to go into the trading strategies, but you can basically punch in L&L is a pretty good strategy. I talk about it a lot. But you basically want to look at all the moments where it's going to start coming down. The lines cross right here, so these are some pretty good moments. What you want to do is you want to get to that dollar. So a cross happens right here. So we want to get to $1, and there's your dollar right there. That's your dollar for the week. And like I've talked about in my last video, you can scale up with it. But basically, you want to find all the moments where it's coming down, basically. And you really want to buy your week contracts, and you want to find $1 difference. You can hold out longer if you want to, but with these stocks, they don't. It making it to about 50 cents to $1 is pretty normal. It's a pretty normal thing to find. You're not going to find real big moves with these stocks. Personally, I would set a goal for trying to find 50 cents to $1, and then you can scale it. But right now, StarBucks is in a downtrend. But to find these moments, you can plot out your support, your resistance for the day, and you can base it off of that, off of movement. If we do a 15-minute here, let's just do this as an example. The last 15-minute candle, and if you drew a line right here, this was the top, and this was the bottom, basically, in the last 15-minute candle. So when it opens up, it would have to break this to be bullish. And if it does not break this, you would wait for the candle to get close to here before you put in your put, and you can catch it coming down, basically. So that's one way to do it. And you would just wait and see if you can find $1. This move right here wouldn't have. That move right there would probably not have made you that $1 that you're looking for. But anyway, that's StarBucks. It looks like a good asset to trade if you want to look for something. Like we said, when you're trying to figure this out and see if it's a good stock to trade to make just a little bit of passive income, you want to first look at it on a weekly and see how much it moves in a week. You want to see how much it's moved in the previous weeks, and that way you'll get a good idea of how much it generally has moved in 5 days. Because when you're buying your contracts for a week, so you want to get within that range, basically. So StarBucks looks like a good asset to trade to make it around $50 to $100 a week. And then you can easily scale that up with more contracts. So a good strategy going forward here is to start off with one contract and try to find that $1 difference within that week. So buy your contracts a week out and try to find a dollar move in a week difference. And then once you do that, you can scale it up, and then you can do 2 contracts. And then once you're working with 2 contracts, you'll be making $200 a week by focusing on finding that dollar. And then once you've done that, you can go to 3 contracts. 3 contracts will make you $300 a week by finding that dollar. 4 contracts will make you $400 a week by finding that dollar, and then 5 contracts will make you $500 a week by finding that dollar, and you can just scale it up. But anyway, this seems like a good asset to trade to make some good profit in the beginning that you can scale up over time. But anyway, if you guys like this video, make sure you hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. I'll see you guys in future videos.